Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Danny and Troy Show, where we use this platform as an open discourse,
Trench.
discussion that we're digging ourselves into. But yeah, we're here with another. The topic and the theme of this running series is creative expression and the importance of having an outlet to, I guess, be the other end of the inlet where this streaming level of consciousness or thoughts or things coming from us from another place. But I think, if we can channel that into creative expression, it's part of why we're all here, and it's also quite fun.
Yep. Got to start somewhere, right, Troy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like you started working on some people who know how to crochet.
This is my mum's hat. She made it for
That's
me.
incredible. I see.
She gave it.
Like I see a new hat every day. Speaking of creative expression,
yeah,
she does a great job. Turn around. Let's see the back.
Well, that's why it looks different, because sometimes I wear it that way. Sometimes I wear it this way. So right now I got the blue at the front. The other day I probably had the brown at the front. But yeah, I can put it. It's a neck warmer as well. So if I put it right down, and yeah, multifunctional. And I just shaved my head again this morning, and there's a cool breeze still in the air. We've just hit the season of spring, so it's the 5th of September, and although it's sunny outside, it's still there's a cool breeze. So,
and I see that from your beard, you're getting ready to go on board around the world with Captain Kraken.
I've just been letting it go wild. Hey, I get comments every day that I should get it trimmed.
No. Yeah. I like it like it is. Anyway, you got Christmas. Now, Christmas come up. You sell. Do you celebrate Christmas in December too?
Yep.
I mean, your seasons are like upside down, or ours are one or the other.
It's really hot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Well, then we're going to tackle the next part, if you'll allow us, to discuss something very interesting that's happening in our story of Drukpa. And that is, he has discovered, even though I'm not quite sure he's come to realize it yet, his father's writings in a piece that he calls the Book of Life. And yesterday, we found that Drukpa's father, whom we haven't given a name yet, probably Bill or something like that, was recording his thoughts about life, which ended up a bit more clear, I must say, than Drukpa's does. But we read a small portion of it yesterday to get a sense about whether or not we're able to make this very big transition. You know, we have this idea that these kinds of presentations, plays, movies, stories, or whatever, have two what we call plot points. I mean, you develop a story, and you and I did this when we first started writing together. And we take the story, establishing shot, things like that. Where are we? Who are these people? And then we introduce a knot in their string, right? And then we develop that portion, and then towards the end, we tie another knot, and then they resolve the issue, and then go to the close of the play, which ends 27 lines from the bottom of the page. So I think it's right to say, I believe, I'm not going to plant my shoes in concrete just yet, but this is probably which most of it, I believe, has been written already. That once we disclose all of this about his father through him, then we'll go into what we believe in comparison to be the natural conclusion to things about which way should you go to extract you from confusion. Why are you there? And where do you go from there? So
Okay.
this is how the second, I guess you call it the second paragraph, let's just call it that, begins in the Book of Life. And I'll start.
Okay. Great.
When, if ever, was I going to do it? Write this book? Surely it was egotistical of me to think I would have something to add worthy or bestow on others who would inevitably follow me. There was government and its ever-increasing desire for control of mental pollution, as they would think, and their program of information that people wanted to know. They were always shielding the public from outlandish thought that exceeded their desires for control of the people. I would be wiped away in one fell swoop of their accumulated knowledge and control, to which they were rightfully entitled, so I was told. At that time, even the church and their God stood against me, as they had ultimate control of what was what, and I, as a mere sheep, could not go against them and their carefully constructed children's stories, doing everything from epitomizing Tom Sawyer's and Huckleberry Finn's. Every way I turned was neither encouraged nor supported. Parents with wild-eyed amazement didn't know what I was seeking and quickly placed my desires among their guilt, and even though it was more than obvious, had no inkling of as to what their ultimate responsibility was to me and the world at large. Life was handing me adventure after adventure, and I gobbled them up, jumping from place to place to embrace them. I found sex with women to lead onward and upwards, as I came to realize that women were acculturated to entice men to do their bidding. Sex was a powerful tool that wielded but lost its power with frequency, and declined interest on their part to give it, as life was a sly endeavor to have one lead from one topic of desire into another. Once sex was displaced with, "Hear what I want you to do for me," even if they too had no clear idea of what their map included, they felt themselves titled to choose between what I was offering and what they wanted. They too had no idea of what their future image was, if it was obtainable, and how to deal with what no one had told them either. We were all just a bunch of poor slobs making our ways through life that was increasing in speed as it distanced itself from our capabilities and into a mystical future. Without a handbook, it was all up to me, trading New York for San Francisco, New Orleans for Seattle, Los Angeles for St. Petersburg, Russia, Taiwan for Bhutan, and so on. I limped along, learning that the greatest knowledge came from not rushing into something new, but that waiting gave way to better solutions, more well thought out. That, of course, had little to do with me, except that a watched pot never boils. Some bad interpreters lauded waiting as a solution, but waiting was far too active for solution generation. And if so, how did one learn to wait other than by waiting? Waiting was learned by distraction. It sort of happened while I was distracted myself from the process by wondering where the next move would come from. More often than not, I was waiting for possession by an outside force to descend upon me, take me by surprise, and lead me onwards. Lightning strikes or meteors. One word about that. That kind of behavior was not taught. I was learning a new vocabulary of word specificity. Attention must be given in the proper language if it was to be fully understood by others, even if understanding was just filling in the blanks of a past design that accepted or rejected the proper way forward. More often than not, it didn't. Abandoning forward movement was a formidable opponent. Doing such a thing meant determination, testicular fortitude, and clear-sightedness. Getting older helped me to make decision-making easier. My days were numbered, replacing my sense of my invulnerability and giving me passage to marking my life with something to chart it and its efforts, as if there was something for others to learn from. The general distraction was someone will do better than I. So futility was my destiny. All the old timers and icons were identified by rank of money and possession. Defy them and become the brunt of rude behavior, their only wall of justification if approached with a more formidable stance. If you weren't out to exceed them, you weren't in the game, didn't matter, and didn't supply yourself and others with the proper credentials for popularity and wealth, different from riches. You weren't worthy of attention any more than a house fly bottled up in frustration and futility. As you can see, there were numerous byways in which one could take refuge. As the governing world was moving to diminish everyone to the same level of equality, the launching pad of a herd mentality, I was sure there were forces that would keep dissidents like me at bay. Stretching a dollar wasn't more clear than in witnessing its ability to stretch it around my neck and pull the life from my poor, dangling, misguided existence. Money was useful. Its general and impartial usage was manipulated to satisfy desires that arose as quickly as they went. No matter. Its currency was and had been proven within its own recorded history to dissuade most from other ventures except in approaching age that led to an awakening of mortality and security to fend off any misapprehensions or misunderstandings that the world was to have taught me earlier. As we have as yet not mentioned love. I had come to define love as the urge towards reunification. It was better than most I had heard, especially since love was usually passed along with sex or old age. When I came to realize love in the naked form came with decreased desirability. Porn was a poor substitute and operated on a pure physical level. It was useful, I found, to decrease tension and calm the nerves. Beauty and youth, also known as beauth, self-assurance and experience, attention getting and admiration were the progenitors of love. Love was overused and lost its meaning meaning with a residue to rediscover it later in life when dysfunctionality and caretaking reign supreme and fear of loneliness and its preaching matched with death as an end rather than a change of states. The only way I see it is ridiculous. A good way of seeing that which announced its transition with a decaying body and mind with which one was to fight yet again on the way out the door. Where were we going this time? To revalue all values rather than be possessed with the failure of religion and philosophy both. Faraway places where resistance to his silly monotheistic understanding was replacing debt and repayment with enlightenment, were the sudden enemy because it undermined human sacrifice with purpose and attaining wisdom. They used work as a distraction, their cure-all and relief from the pains of daily life, where if that single straw were to fall, would bring pandemonium upon all residents and cease the need for another control mechanism to keep people enjoying the simple pleasures of life beyond sex and the things as simple as food and being left alone to contemplate what it had all been about. Answers not guaranteed. Such an introduction as this one need make no linear sense, as life doesn't provide that either. It's like one of those bus tours in foreign cities often referred to as hop on and hop off. You will find that non-sequentiality is handy in this discourse. The tangential applications are for you to determine as long as there is a grab bar for you to grasp rather than a brass ring. It's good practice. The vicissitudes of life and clawing your way through it are augmented with planned obsolescence. You were meant to last forever, not in the present human form at least. You will ask yourself as you go along, what is the meaning of life? In Russia, I had stated to a group of scientists at the Corning Glass Institute on the St. Petersburg State University campus that the meaning of life was constant creativity. It was there that I heard, I obey the laws I like, giving way to law is but a suggestion. I knew nothing about quantum mechanics then, but these boys were resting on its edge. It was in this environment that I had witnessed grandmothers shoulder to shoulder spanning the sidewalks in good measure to letting all know there was no way around them except by venturing into the street, whether piled high with snow or gutters filled with rain and mud. They were maintaining the pace at which life must be lived as testament to their advanced age and resistance.
Okay.
All right. There you have it.
Well,
The
there's so
second
much-
chapter of the
Yeah.
Book of Life.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like kind of being in a blackberry grove, you know. There you
Okay.
are, standing by the road, knee
Yeah.
high or higher, maybe at least up your elbow so you can catch a thorn or two, in a blackberry patch.
Yeah.
And on the ground below, of course, is just the perfect place for snakes to cool off,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And wasps to build nests, and thorns to prick your arms,
Yeah.
and blackberries to consume as fast as you can pick them,
Mhm.
and none of them end up in the basket. And by the time you get home, you're happy to be out of there with a
Mhm.
belly full of blackberries and wondering What was that all about?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good analogy. I mean, what I'm seeing is it goes back to the Buddhism, the sense that yeah, life is suffering, and we talk about it as doing the hokey pokey, just put one foot in, put the other foot in, turn around, all this stuff. So yeah, it's just going through life and accepting that in some stages, or maybe for all stages, you're going to feel like you're in a blackberry bush full of thorns, but then you've referred to getting out of it. And I don't know, I mean, ultimately that happens when you die, but it doesn't have to. That's another message. You can feel like everything's fine and sit and relax and enjoy, or just accept and feel that you're not trying to get this job done by needing to pick the blackberries and there's snakes and thorns, but you can't just stop. There are ways to feel like you're out of that suffering. Now, I'm struggling to think about these four noble truths, but I can't quote them directly because I'm not that much into it. But it's suffering exists. There's a way out of suffering. There's a path to suffering, and I can't remember the four, but it's all to do with accepting that life is suffering and there's a way out. But that's what I was getting, from your reading, and also your little summary at the end. Also, what came up was this infinite life aspect of us, being around before, after we die, and before we were born. I had a great day, yesterday with my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, Zara, and she, as always, comes up with some really thought-provoking discussions and questions. And yesterday she was talking about the grandfather paradox, just in a playful mode and mood. But this is the paradox where if time travel was possible and you went back in time and killed your grandfather, what would happen to you? Would you still exist, or would you evaporate at that instance because you didn't be born, your father wasn't born, you weren't born, or your mother, or whatever lineage you come from? But and then she was saying her belief, and it's kind of a thought experiment, that she would exist. It's just that she'd be perhaps in a different place, and look differently, but her. And I believe when she was talking about that instance, about this soul, or that consciousness aspect of who makes her up, would still exist. And that kind of leads to that sense that there is something beyond the body that is giving life and is life. And if you believe the same way that my daughter does, Zara, then it wouldn't, you would still exist. It's just the way you come about into the world that would have changed, and therefore would change the way you look or where you are exactly.
You referred to this blackberry bush.
Yeah.
And there's something very curious about two bushes we have around here. They're both from the blackberry family, and one is called blackberry. And then the other one is called a bramble. Do you have bramble in Australia?
No.
It's principally a more cruel blackberry bush without blackberries. And the funny thing about their thorns are situated kind of like, a downward slant.
Okay.
Because they're easy to put your arm in, but it's like a fish trap. If you want to pull it out,
Nice.
you know, you may as well shoot yourself, because that's going to be a lot less painful.
Wow.
And, you know, if you're just getting into the bush with your hands and you realize what kind of bramble that you've caught yourself on, you can very slowly and very carefully back away from it. And, you know, it gets to a point, since I've lived, you know, here for quite some time, where they become a obsession, you know, to get rid of them, to punish them,
Okay.
to kill them, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years back, I was doing some research, not like I'm doing now, about this elixir. And I realized, that there were two things that sort of came together along the same line. And one of them was the bramble.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one, which was across the street, was what we call, they make, it's a thorn that twines around trees and gets up real high, and has a root, and like some say in Spain, that they make pipes out of.
Wow.
They kind of look like, you know, tubers,
Yeah.
but you can kill them. Very difficult, because if you leave one little chip off, it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And then around Christmas time, they have pretty little red berries, and, you know, people take them and dress up their houses, and then wait for these invaders, you know, to cover their house in a few years.
Ah.
And I discovered, because I was into like folk medicine at the time, and Indian herbology.
Yeah.
And I realized that these two components, bramble briar root and this other pipe briar, were some essential ingredients. Sir?
Mistletoe? But it's not mistletoe.
No, that's totally different.
Right.
That's an epiphyte.
Okay.
These were like ground loving things. Were made the principal component around the farm for preventing disease, and at the same time, with a little mix of sassafras root, which the all-wise government has outlawed, you know, to save people's lives.
Okay.
That's a wonderful smelling thing, and you know, you've got to peel the root, and it's yellow, kind of like turmeric and so on, and you can crush them all up and make just the most incredible sarsaparilla out of it.
Okay.
So you've got to have the root, and then both roots, both two different kinds of briars, right? Absolutely incredible, you know. And now people get sick, right? They didn't get sick then.
Right.
They had no time to get sick.
Right.
They just wore themselves out, you know, like a pair of shoes. And then it was like, well, I got nothing left to stand on. I guess I'm going to die. And had a totally different understanding of life.
Sure.
It wasn't a great tragedy or something they're missing or something they didn't get to do, you know, because they weren't offered so many teases, so many options to have something that if they had it, they wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. Because, you know, that was what their life was outlined to be, right? And today it's just like, you know, go to the store and get yourself, you know, a little bit of this. And I think we've got a syringe around here somewhere, which you got to let somebody else put in you. You know, you go to the drugstore, the pharmacy or whatever, and it's like, good God, I didn't know I needed all of this. Like, well, apparently you do. Because the moment you land in America, you hear a lot of ads about what the fuck is wrong with you and what we have to heal it.
Right.
And it's sort of like, I often wonder, this is like program, you know? I don't think that if I had some valuable time left, I would spend that time thinking about how sick I was. You know, I didn't, when I had cancer, I didn't think about how sick I was. I thought about how soon is it going to take to get well, right? And it's the same thing now. with everything I'm doing, sort of getting myself back in tune. And I've been trying this elixir, half of this elixir. The other half I know works.
Okay.
This half, what I call the gin half, right?
Mm,
I've been mixing with special flowers, right? And I, about 3 days ago, I decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to get a little shot glass. I've got these beautiful little colored blue shot glasses from Russia. And I thought, this is ceremonial. I've got to try it out. I got 1.5 liters in one bottle, which is, sort of getting special attention.
Yep.
And I said, I'll try half a glass, half a shot.
Sure.
And I've done this before, and I should have known better.
What happened?
And I had the most incredible headache.
Uh-oh.
Like somebody had driven a nail in my head. Not even a crown of thorns, but a nail.
Uh-oh.
And I said to myself, okay, let's just keep it together here, right? We're not going to die. We didn't poison ourselves. Maybe we took too much.
Okay.
So whether it was a couple of days ago or 3, I don't know. But it got to the point where it was just like, what you want to do, Danny, is you want to dip your tongue in a half a glass, right? But don't feel the compulsion to have to finish it.
Right.
Right? It was just like wet your tongue, I think some expression used to be, which now people, of course, take it far too seriously. They think that it means take a good swig. It's like, no, that's not what I said. I said wet your tongue. And now that's what I tell people. I haven't told anybody yet, but that's what I presume I will if news gets out, because when I mix these two, I let some very close people here taste it for me. And they said, that's incredibly good, but is there any alcohol in it? And I said, yeah, about 40%. And they said, I didn't taste it. It doesn't burn, right? Like people usually expect these kinds of things to taste like, sort of like drinking lighter fluid or something like that.
Yeah.
Not a drop. But when I go to the smaller amount, once a day, that's it. Wet your tongue once a day.
Right.
And because, this stuff has to be full of, I don't know what. I know what I put in it.
Right.
I know how many I put in it or how much. But then I can feel myself changing. I'm shooting for eternal life, right?
Okay.
And the elixir of life. So we can sell it. Hey, here you get your book of life right here, and here's a little bottle of elixir of life, and the price is $100,000.
Sure.
I mean, that is if you want to live, right?
Yeah.
And well, let's make it 1 million. How many takers do I have? And the bottle does not get bigger because you pay $1 million now, and before you didn't pay anything. That is if you want to live. I don't care one way or the other. Right? I think there have been like Twilight Zone episodes about this kind of story, right? And you go and you kill the guy, and you get the egg, and then you realize you killed the goose, dude. What'd you do that for? It's like, I didn't think. I guess not. And then we have a Jethro kind of Barney Fife and Jethro Bodine movie together about how stupid we can be. And it happens, in daily life. I see people doing that who don't even see themselves doing that.
Okay. Sure.
That's the tragedy of it, right? I know I'm going to drink this here Red Devil's Lie, but I'll live through it. And it's like, no, you won't. You don't know me, boy. It's like 10 seconds later, they're dead. It's like finished. I told him, I tried to tell him. And so, everything has to be taken again, with a grain of salt, right?
Sure.
These were not just quippy things to say. These were like prescription doses, right? You'll find in old cookbooks, they would say a pinch.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Or something like that. It's like they meant a pinch.
Yeah.
They didn't mean, a pinch is like that. That's a pinch. But as you know, if a little makes it good, a lot makes it better, right? Yep. Okay. Maybe you're right. And so now I'm with this elixir. Now I'm at the point where I get indicators that I'm not looking for. And these things together, they come once a day, usually in the morning after I put my feet on the floor, right? And go to the sink to wash my face. And that's when the idea of the day comes.
Okay.
And it's still at that point in time where I'm getting better and better at it, of knowing that when I see something, generally speaking, it's the starting point, right? It doesn't mean that's all you're going to do all day long, or the only thing you're going to do, or, you know, the only thing that's not fun during your day and all that other stuff. It means do that first. And here's a good example this afternoon. You know, it's getting cooler, a little darker in the evening. That means I got a couple of hours to actually do something, you know, between it's too hot for mosquitoes and prime time for mosquitoes.
Okay.
So I go out there and I realize, I said, you know, something happened to my electricity. I checked the, you know, the breaker panel. I checked the connections. I did everything. And then I went to plug the saw in, little skill saw, and it went, and everything went dark again. I said, Mother, what is it now? Because I just plugged it up. I didn't think that I had plugged the saw up and went downstairs to turn on the breaker, right? And change the electric cord. And every time I turned on the breaker, it went zit. I said, what is, okay, it's got to be the extension cord, right? Of course, because the wall socket worked perfectly well. And I took an hour going through, dismantling all of the power cords. I mean, some nice ones, you know, expensive ones, new ones, old ones, whatever. Still happened. Damn it. I said, check it out from one point to another. Okay, we got the lights on, we got the lights on, we got the lights on. Let's go to the saw now and plug the saw up. I plugged the saw up and it was zzz. And it was at that point in time I saw that the wire into the saw, that the two terminals were touching each other.
Wow. Okay.
I bought the saw, I took it home, and I cut the cord in half with the saw.
Oh.
Like years ago. And I guess it had just wiggled loose. I thought I did a really good job.
Right.
I went there and I said, okay, zit, everything's zeroed out. And I wondered when I finished, like I do when I finish most things, where I feel like finishing them means I'm ready to start.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah.
So that I went through all of the terrible things to find out what I should have done in the first place. But I had to go through them first to get there.
Sure.
And it sounds a lot like this damn book.
Sure.
You know, like what these characters are going through.
Yeah.
You don't just go walking into a blackberry patch without asking whether or not there are bramble briars in there. And you don't go plugging up your saw every outlet in the house to have and that's kind of like where our story is going, in a way.
We lost you for a few seconds there, but you're back now. Okay.
That's okay. You lost the whole meaning of everything this evening.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes, Troy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
and you know what? I can't remember what I said.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think, yeah, it would be an amazing for everybody to have whatever it is, whether it comes in an elixir or a book or just a thought, to give them that doorway, I guess, or to
gateway,
a gateway, or a path out. Like you're saying, if you put your hand in the bush, you can't rip it out really quickly. You got to kind of ease your way through and get out. And this is what I see, at least the symbol of the elixir, whether the actual liquid itself has an effect is secondary or in a bonus or addition. But yeah,
what are you looking for, right? What are you looking for in this elixir?
That's
to put two things together. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're all looking for this kind of or motivation or inspiration or, realization of what we have in this world as a human being, as a life, as an entity that's bobbing through the, galaxy and universe, to get back into that touch and, to remind ourselves that we're here, life is amazing, it is miraculous, and it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. Yes, there will be challenges, there will be spikes, there will be thorns and snakes and problems, but that's why we're here. It's like that's what the Buddhists say. Life is suffering. So take
I don't
that.
believe that. I'm against suffering.
Sure.
I don't want to use suffering as a gateway.
Well, yeah.
Seems like an awful waste.
I think their message is that also that acceptance makes it the pathway out of that suffering. So there is a way out. It's not that, I mean, the suffering comes from your inability to recognize that there is a pathway out. Something like that. But anyway, yeah, just the symbol of hope, the symbol of everlasting life, the symbol of energy, the symbol of love. It can be whatever you choose, and yeah, I'm excited to hopefully one day taste this elixir and
Oh yeah,
be a
we'll
part of
find a
this.
way.
Yeah.
You, I think what you're talking about is awareness.
Okay.
But I think that we also have to be aware enough to know that we are aware.
Sure.
And what we are aware of.
Sure.
Right? Because if we're led by the nose, we sort of like pack things up and take them along with us. We come to trust things like the church or, some older person, who may actually be showing you the pathway to hell.
Yeah. Well, that's
right. And it's like, he's there smiling and all, driving a big car. And he's saying, well, you want to be like me? While saying, in his cheek, he's saying, I sure as hell he doesn't take this offer. Poor boy.
Right. Yeah, well, that's what I heard when you were saying and talking about the pharmaceuticals companies or the drugs. And, when you get there, we have the solution, and it's kind of a false hope. And this is the, I guess, tragic part is that, that this theme that we're talking about, an elixir to solve all your problems in the world. That's the same thing that the pharmaceutical companies are saying. Take this tablet and everything will be fine. But really, it's just dulling the senses and putting you into a more unconscious aspect, and it's kind of taking you away or not giving you the opportunity to come to that awareness that you're talking about, and naturally, I guess, find.
But that was your choice, isn't it? Right? I seriously doubt they think that this drug is going to kill them all. Even if it kills 99, even if it leaves one alive,
sure,
that one probably has a high mutation rate.
Something, yeah.
Right. So it ain't a cure-all, right? It's a cure-all, but and if you want to actually, which is kind of the realm around which I'm dancing, if you want to adapt it, you're the adaptician, right? And you're looking for the adaptogen. Well, you may have one fault, just one, about yourself. And you might say, okay, here I have it in one hand, and here I have something else in another hand. And you may say, that's the one I want, and find out that it's actually a bramble briar, when the drug that you're taking is a blackberry bush. So you think that the last thing I want to do is to go stick my hand in further, get deeper and deeper involved until you're up to your shoulder, and there ain't no way outside of, having about 3 people come and pull you out, cut the vines, and because that means surgery,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But if you had actually realized that the points are thorned, the thorns are pointed the other way,
Mhm.
that it would have been much easier for you to get it out in another way. That the way in, kind of like with my cats,
Mhm.
my cats will jump on me, right?
Okay.
And they'll try to bite me. And the worst thing I can do is try to pull away.
Yeah.
So what do? I push my finger further, and then they go and go running away,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it's our approach to it too. And I mean, what the hell, if we're going to live 1,000,000 times or 1,000 times or however many until we mutate into something else, why not give it a shot?
Yeah.
Why not try something that you wouldn't normally try to see how it works?
That's right.
Particularly when you can't go to Walgreens and find it there on the shelf.
Mhm.
And I think that responsibility is up to us. I heard heard my mother say, my mother ate like a bird, and I don't mean frequently. She liked what? Chocolate, alcohol, lettuce, some cheese, and cucumbers. And she was about as thin as a rail. She lived to be 97, and she'd have lived longer if if we had changed her living situation. But come to find out that when you have less cells to replicate, and less of those cells will mutate.
Right.
And therefore, you get older slower.
Sure.
And that's what she
Sense.
did,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, it's just the opposite. People think, well, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to stop eating. That ain't going to work. If you want to lose weight, it's going to take you 6 months to a year or
Sure.
more.
Sure.
Because not only will you change your diet if you can, but then you'll be able to say to yourself, okay, my diet's over. I lost 50 pounds. Time to eat again. Let's go. Right? Give me a
Right.
beer. Let's celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there you go. You're right back where you started from.
Sure.
So, I think it's a process, Troy, and that's what I'm enjoying. Not because I'm trying to come up, with the elixir or give the elixir I've made to the rest of the world. No, that's not my objective. It's not what I wanted, and I don't have enough of it, and I don't want that kind of popularity and whatever. It's enough to know. All you got to do is go in there and wet your tongue with it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And then, little by, and this has happened to me before on previous experiments, right? People say to me, it's like, how many lifetimes do you have? And I said, I don't know. The way I counted is about 6 by now.
Oh,
And I don't think that's 6 out of 9 lives either.
okay.
Right?
Sure.
Because well, maybe the cancer might be 1 life,
Mhm.
right? Or a bicycle accident, another life. Well, you can count them that way. But that's not how I'm counting. I want to be surprised. I want, death standing on my shoulder going, hey, that's 9, man. It's like, nah, you must be wrong, man. That's nowhere near 9. What, you stopped learning how to count? Let's go back. I think we're around 3. That kind of, negotiates your position, right? Go at it that way.
Sure.
But I think people really expect to die. And I think it's like retiring. You know where you're going after you retire. It's just a short walk, right? Now, depending on what you think retirement means, right? It means, stepping from your work table at your job into the grave. Okay, you probably got about a 90% chance because you got nothing else to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So people make their own choices.
Sure.
But you're gonna have to work real hard to get it on my bottle of juice. And then they wouldn't know how to mix it. I know how to mix it. And I broke it down. I put 4 different components in it. One of them was the water from my well, which I think makes the absolute best beer in the world. I can attest to that. Right?
Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, we know water is one, right? The water of life. We know spirit is another component, right?
Yeah.
And then we have to take things from the ground, those things we love and those things that we think we hate.
Great.
And they usually grow in profusion and abundance around me.
Sure.
And as you know, because we've spoken about this only recently, that we have to see things differently.
Yeah.
If you hate someone recently told me, I was really surprised in Seattle. He said, that usually means I need to talk to this person pretty bad.
Mm,
Like, ooh, there's something interesting.
sure.
He's come to realize it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Funny stuff. Wow. Here we go, Troy.
Great.
Another lesson in life. We'll be able to sell, a CD set along with our elixir and our book.
So yeah, I think that's a great place to end it, and to stay tuned for the next one. And yeah, we'll always,
Yeah.
as always, let us know what you think. If anybody's out there
Yeah.
listening and wanting to comment, that's why we're
Yeah.
putting this forward, is to hear
Yeah.
others and to grow on this theme of creative expression.
Yeah. And maybe I'll be out of prison next time.
Yeah, nice shirt.
Or is that the Russian Navy? I can't forget.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Danny.
Okay, товарищ. Ciao.